Hey everybody, welcome to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode number 574. Today is the 26th of November. It is the day before Thanksgiving here in the US. So if you are celebrating or getting together with people tomorrow, hope that you have a great day. If you're outside the US, I don't know, I guess you can celebrate Thanksgiving if you want to. Go have a big meal, have some family and friends over and enjoy it. But anyways, we're going to get into answering your local SEO questions, and we've got a couple of quick announcements before we jump into all that, though. I'm going to say hello to everybody. So Chris, start with you. How you doing today?
Doing good. Happy to be here. And you basically caught like a nostalgic idea on my end. So I remember like that one time, like when we had like I think Hump Day Hangout. And all of a sudden, Bradley showed up with his like turkey hat. Like,
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't have that still. I do, but I left it at a family's house, one of my family's house, and I'm not going home for Thanksgiving this year. I'm just staying here by myself. And anyway, long story short, my mom called me yesterday, and she was like, "I guess I'm going to be obligated to wear the turkey hat since you're not going to be here, because every year I wear it. You know what I mean? So it's funny, but she's going to have to wear it this year to fill in for me."
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Bradley, besides the hat, how you doing?
I'm good, man. Busy as all hell as normal, but glad to be here and ready for even though tomorrow's Thanksgiving, I'm gonna be by myself. I'm actually gonna I'm gonna take the day because I don't have any meetings scheduled, you know what I mean, to actually get caught up on some of my own work, and I'm looking forward to the quiet time to be able to do that. So I'm gonna take advantage of the day and use it productively instead of just sitting around,
Yeah.
So,
I'll do a public service announcement to everybody. There's going to be a lot of people on the road today, tomorrow. Be safe. I bring it up because I told these guys yesterday I almost missed our regular meeting because I was stopped at a stop sign and got hit. So you never know when it's going to happen. Luckily, it was minor damage and nobody was hurt, but just all the stupid stuff that goes on out there. So stay safe. Enjoy the holidays. Let's see. I wanted to touch base on, let me check my notes real quick. A couple things. Well, the local mastery newsletter we haven't talked about recently. If you haven't checked this out, I'll put the link into the chat in a minute, but it's localmastery.semanticmastery.com. What this is, it's 5 to 7 actionable local SEO insights each week with action items for each. So things you can actually do. And this is all kind of crunched down into a newsletter that you can read in under 30 minutes. So I think it would be a lot to implement everything, but whether you're working by yourself as a freelancer, maybe you got some VAs or you got a larger agency, you can take one thing from this each week at least and put that into effect and start seeing some really good results. So this really condenses down a lot of Bradley's training, and this is a great way to stay up to date and to get some really clear, actionable local SEO intel. So again, that's localmastery.semanticmastery.com. And that's it for me right now. I'm going to check it out. Do you guys have anything else that we need to check out? Oh, and how do we have someone else in chat here? Or are we seeing YouTube chat?
YouTube.
Ah, okay. I was like, what is going on? Anyways, like Bradley said, we've been using some new tech, so we're still ironing out the kinks on that. But yeah, guys, if that's it, let's jump into questions.
Yeah, we don't have many, which I wouldn't expect we would today, being the day before Thanksgiving. Probably a lot of people are already traveling, so I would expect. And it's cool. And David's here. What's up, David? Good to see you, man. If anybody that's on wants to chat about anything in particular, you can always bring that up too. Let me see about trying to grab the screen here. Like I said, I'm still learning how to use StreamYard, so bear with me.
I was gonna say, Bradley, did you set the redirect link?
I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it should be done. By the way, there's a problem with WordPress right now, so it's funky in there, but the screen is all weird, and I had to do a search for the redirect. I'm just going to double check it. It should be done.
Yeah, it's working. I clicked the wrong link. We're good.
It should be done. Okay, right on. All right, guys, let me grab the screen. Sorry about that, and try this again. Last time I did this, it dumped me. So I hope it doesn't do this time. Let's go with window in here. All right, so not a lot of questions. We'll kind of get through what we got, and if we wrap up early, cool. That we can do that too. I can talk about lots of stuff too. There's a lot going on, guys. And man, I've been doing so much testing lately, and I've got really good news though. And I guess let's lead with that, right? And then we'll get into questions. So let me back out of here for a minute, drop the screen share. Boom. Okay. So, what have I been seeing in local SEO audits and in competitive link analysis reports when I'm doing, auditing, reviewing those competitive link analysis reports? So I'm constantly looking at what's working in Google search. And in addition to that, we've started in all of our analysis, different types of analysis reports, we're including the AI SEO reports now too. So I'm using rank prompt or whatever it is. I think it's rankprompt.com. I got an agency level account. And so now we're using that, which looks at Perplexity, ChatGPT, and it says Google AI, but that's Gemini SEO. Just to be clear, that's Gemini. Doesn't matter whether you call it Google AI search, Google AI overviews, Google AI mode. It's all Gemini. That's what it is. Okay. And so I'm using that now as part of our competitive analysis and full SEO audit services. And over the next 2 weeks or so, I'm going to be rolling out kind of a full AI audit service and also content and strategy planning for getting into AI search. Some of that we can, which is why I brought this up. Some of that we can accomplish with off-page work. So, and what's really interesting is the discoveries that I've seen or what I've kind of uncovered in doing a lot of analysis on competitive analysis reports and full SEO audits for white label clients over the last couple of weeks. I've seen something really emerge again out of the data, and that really kind of shocked me. And that is the resurgence of importance of citations. It's critically important. Like it's an amazing how, if you have a really thoroughly optimized citation business directory profile, and when I say citations, we all usually think of business directories, but I mean just a thorough, both structured and unstructured citation profile, meaning getting referenced on as many different platforms as possible with accurate information. And what I'm seeing is because of the way that AI search has really kind of changed consumers' behavior, and also it's not necessarily about even getting a link like the website referenced in the AI search. It's just getting a brand mention. You get what I'm saying? Like getting the brand mention in an AI search is good enough. And so it's more likely and easier to get a brand mention in AI search if the company is referenced on high authority properties with thoroughly optimized profiles, and then also other things like press releases. We've been talking about press releases being effective for getting into AI search, getting brand mentions into AI search. But I've seen this also now with business directory listings like Yelp and MapQuest, believe it or not, like it's been referenced a lot, and like a bunch of different types of business directory listings that if you get your clients referenced on all of those with, again, thoroughly optimized profiles, it's more likely that they will get a brand mention. It's not their website that gets referenced, but they get a brand mention because they're of the authority, if that makes sense. And so I've been talking about for over 2 years, the two most important things in local search are branded location authority, and number 2 is site efficiency. Well, all the branded location authority stuff I've been talking about, I'm starting to see day in and day out is come to fruition. I mean, I already knew it was important 2 years ago, but now I'm seeing it in my day-to-day activities of doing analysis and research and, reporting for clients, et cetera. I'm seeing it just, it's plain as day. Having a very thorough, robust citation profile with thoroughly optimized citations and profiles across different types of platforms is one of the ways you can get in AI search. Number 2, press releases, right? But those are all both off-page kind of things that we can do. The other thing is on-page, right? There's a lot of stuff that we can do on-page to kind of improve search performance in AI search. And so that's why I said there, I'm really only focusing on Gemini, right? Optimizing for Gemini, because if we do that, it's likely going to improve performance in Google search, but then also carry over to the other AI searches, whatever AI model people particularly like to use. And so there's one of the services that I'm going to be rolling out is we're not going to actually produce the content. We can do that under Semantic SEO. We're going to be rolling out done for you services for that. But initially at first, I'm going to be just rolling out the analysis and strategy. So basically as part of the full SEO audits, but the audit price went up $20, just to be clear, guys, because we're rolling in these new reports. And there's more time now that's going to go into the audit reports from me, and providing the analysis and the strategy for increasing the chances of the company being referenced in AI search. Okay, I've been doing a lot of testing, a lot of studying on that. I bought some other people's courses about AI with geo and all, whatever you want to call it. I just call it AI SEO, all of that. And so I've been really kind of in the trenches trying to figure out how to optimize for that, because I see it plain as day. That's where it's going, right? It's not even about getting into the search results with the actual website. It's just the brand mentioning that matters. And so, and here's why. I've talked about this before, but consumer search behavior has changed as it relates to local significantly, in that most of the time consumers are going to whatever their favorite chat model is first and asking for in a more conversational type of a query, like a natural language query, not a keyword search, right? They're going and they're asking for recommendations for, whatever product or service it is that they're looking for. And what happens is whatever gets returned in the AI search, then they go, it's brand mentions, right? That's what it is. They're brand mentions for the most part. And then the consumer will then go to Google and search for those individual companies by name. And so it's critically important to have your brand search fully optimized, right? And I've been talking about that for over 2 years, about the importance of brand search and how we should be optimizing for that. We've had a done for you service available called Brand Builder now for over 2 years. That works incredibly well for populating a brand search fully with nothing but branded and supporting assets and external page URLs referencing a particular company, so that when a consumer does a brand search, they don't see any other competitor assets referenced, right? That's critically important. And before it was, I knew it was important for just performing better in search, but now I'm seeing how that is absolutely carrying over into the kind of evolution of how consumers are searching now because of AI search and models, chat models, et cetera. So I think it's really interesting to see, right now, I think it's actually a lot easier to get results than a lot of people think. If you focus on, again, who in the world would have thought that citations would come back and be something that is an absolute critical part of our process, right? We should have very thoroughly optimized citations. Press releases, I've been using press releases for years. I've loved them. It's always been a staple of my strategy, but they have again come back as showing a significant, showing a lot of importance, right? There's a lot of weight being placed on press releases, from especially the more kind of higher authority properties and things like that. So I think those are two things that we can do off page that are fairly easy to do: citations and press releases. Press releases aren't cheap, but they're effective. Citations can be cheap, right? And then the on-page stuff is really, what's amazing about it is with some good prompting, you can actually just go to Google or Gemini, and ask Gemini to kind of research the competitors and see where there's opportunities to get, referenced or likely to get referenced in AI search. And what I recommend is kind of the strategy is to first identify where there is topic or coverage gaps, right? As far as, are there certain types of queries that are not already being populated with AI with a lot of good results? In other words, those are the first, I think the easiest opportunities is to get into AI search by looking for where there's not a lot of good results yet, but then also just the way that the content is structured. So FAQs, frequently asked questions, and the way that they're formatted, and then also including FAQ schema on the page, all of that is really important for increasing the chances of getting into AI search. But here's the thing. A lot of the AI searches that are already populated with, companies that are being referenced for whatever reason, a lot of those weren't done intentionally. It's just what the AI model has pulled in. I'm not saying that there aren't other companies and other SEOs out there that are optimizing specifically for AI search. There certainly are, but it's very small percentage right now, meaning there's a lot of opportunity to, even in search for particular search queries that have already been, have what appears to be a good set of results. It doesn't mean that you can't squeeze in there and push another one out because you optimize the content and structured it better. Do you see what I'm saying? And so that gets back to, I did some training about this. I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago when it was the, our 11-year anniversary. And I did some training, a little bit of training on that. But what I was going to say was, it's a combination of, if you can structure content in a particular way to be ingested and more likely to be recalled and returned in an AI chat. And again, a lot of that has to do with the way that it's formatted, adding FAQ schema can help with that too. But then once the article is published, which doesn't have to be on the primary domain, it can be on one of your branded Web 2 assets or, brand extensions. It can be a LinkedIn post or an article. A LinkedIn article actually, those are actually can be quite powerful. There's a number of ways that you can do that. It could be on a subdomain blog or whatever, or it can be on the main site. But the way that you structure that content can help it to get referenced, recalled, suggested in AI search. And then again, then you can do things like publish a Google business post that links to it, publish a press release that is promoting that post, that's answering in a different format a similar search query, right? A similar query, because then that's another point that could also, it will help the post on the site that you're promoting to get more likely to be returned in AI search. But then the press release can also get returned into search for the same query, but also for a variant or a similar supporting type of a query, if that makes sense. And so you could do a full stack. Remember, I talked about this 2 weeks ago, a week or two ago, whenever it was that we had the 11-year anniversary show, and I gave that SOP out, and I was talking about how you can find the gaps in the AI search queries now that don't have a lot of coverage, or that are populated with those that weren't really optimized for that. They were just what the AI pulled in because they were the most relevant. If you come in with proper formatting and do your research correctly and use like a content or a topic cluster type of a structure where you have a pillar page and then supporting pages, right? And then you mirror that with press releases. Like for your pillar page, publish a premium that promotes that pillar page post, if that makes sense. And then any of the supporting articles in that structure, you would then publish a standard press release, again, mirroring the same type of structure for the main content on the site, but done via press releases, which gives that authority component, if that makes sense. And so it's very, very powerful if you do it properly. Like I said, it's not inexpensive, but it's powerful. And if you're substituting kind of traditional link building, think about it this way, you can, and I hate to say this, but it's true, it makes sense to kind of pull some of the budget away from regular type link building, like traditional link building, and move it more towards the PR side of things right now, because that helps to build branded location authority. And that is precisely what is performing the best when it comes to AI search and everything else. Like if you build enough branded location authority, the campaign will perform better in all other channels. That's just the way that it is. And I've been seeing that time and again in all the analysis and the research that I do. So anyway, I think definitely there's a lot of opportunity right now that is not as difficult as I think people think it is. It's just a shift in the strategy and the execution of how we do our work, if that makes sense. And so, like I said, I think it's encouraging to see some of that, guys. There's not as much competition out there as you think there is right now, in my opinion, because I think there's a lot of, I think there's a lot of overcomplicating this than is needed. From what I'm seeing, it really comes down to the basics. Structure the site in a very efficient way. I've been talking about that for years. The second most important thing in local SEO is site efficiency, right? So make the site efficient. The more narrow you can focus the site on both the topics, meaning the products or services, and the locations, the geography that it's trying to target, the better it will perform, because it's a smaller, more efficient site. And don't bloat the site with redundancy, duplicated pages, competing pages, etc. Try to keep it free of technical SEO errors, bloat, etc. The more efficient you can make the site, the better it's going to perform. But then branded location authority, that's really that's the magic key to everything right now. So if you marry those two things, branded location authority and an efficient site in local search right now, you'll crush it. And it's the way you build that branded location authority is, again, efficient site, getting referenced on as many different platforms with thoroughly optimized profiles as possible. That includes business directory listings. So those are both structured and unstructured citations. And then publishing content to answer questions that the consumer would have for the company. It doesn't have to be on the main site, because that can create competing pages, but do it on external blogs, via press releases, etc., podcasts, videos, things like that. That is the best way right now to kind of build that branded location authority. So it's not that difficult right now, guys. You hit those major points right there, do it consistently. You can really build a full kind of, assembly line, like a standard operating procedure for it, right? And I'm not kidding. It's not that difficult. It's just the execution is different than what we're used to in the SEO world. See what I'm saying? So hopefully that is encouraging to some of you guys, because to me it is. It's like, to me, I feel like our job has actually gotten a little bit simpler, because to me it's a lot more logical what we're doing now than what we used to have to do to just spam the algorithm in order to get the desired results. I feel like now what we're doing is more like traditional marketing and promotion than it is technical SEO spamming techniques. You know what I mean? Like for me, I'd prefer the kind of more direct response marketing and brand promotion, like promotional and marketing side of things, than I did the kind of technical side of things. And right now, that's really the secret to local SEO, is being effective at marketing and brand building, brand authority building, which is like PR, so public relations, etc. So I think it's encouraging. Anyway, hopefully some of you guys do too. Yeah, right. Are you still using Zootrix? Yes, I am. But not as much, just because their prices like quadrupled. It was nuts. And then they reworked it again to where they only do, like, instead of daily, it's weekly or something. So the price came back. But anyways, I still use that for organic, for like international clients, that for my white label services where Bright Local doesn't work, or if it's a non-local campaign that doesn't have a GBP, then we'll use Zootrix. So I still use Zootrix for that. But for most everything, it's Bright Local. And now I include Rank Prompt, which is, like I said, I got an agency level account at Rank Prompt. I use that because the reports they're decent. They have a share link and all that. And I'm using that now to kind of track, all I'm looking for is top level Google business category type search queries. And I've been talking about that for years. Like I don't focus on long tails. I focus on my SEO on top level Google business category type search queries, because if you rank for those, all the long tails will fall into place, right? They basically take care of themselves. And then when there are particular long tails that are stubborn, then that's when you can go in and publish an additional, page or post or whatever on the site to target that, when it's structured and placed within the site properly. Okay. Because otherwise it can be a competing page, or it can be done on external assets. And that's why I said, we just focus, when I come to like using Rank Prompt as AI SEO report, I'm just going in and targeting the top level, like Google business category terms when relevant. I just looked at, I just did a competitive analysis report today for a white label client that, as a staffing agency, virtual assistant agency in Latin America, but they're based in Miami. And so there's not a good Google business category for that type of a business. So recruiter is the primary category, and that seems relevant to me. And there's also an employment agency, which somewhat relevant, but there's not a virtual assistant agency category. So that was one of the ones where I had to modify the Rank Prompt AI search prompts, like, because I didn't want to put recruiter in there. But most of the time I just put in the Google business category, the primary category. And if it's a local search, then it will be localized for whatever city or the area that they're looking to target, but it should be the city that they're in, if that makes sense. And then it comes back and it tells us, what I like to do is click on the matrix report, which shows for each of the prompts that we're tracking, it shows like in a grid format, an X or a check mark. And if for Perplexity, ChatGPT, and what it says Google AI, but that's Gemini, if that makes sense. So very quickly we can see how well is the company performing in AI search for, brand mentions for specific search queries that would be relevant to their products or services. And that's something that, again, guys, it's not as hard to get into that as people think it is right now. It's about structure and really the brand authority component. Right? You build that properly, and it's way more likely to get referenced in those. So I'll be doing a lot more training on that over the next few weeks, guys. We're still rolling out, trying to get those services fully developed into my agency, my white label services, so that I can roll that out as a done for you service. And then once that's fully developed, that's when I'll be doing some more training on it. Okay. Captain says, it's funny, 12 years ago, when people wanted to use tactics such as PBNs for link building, I found myself using just basic stuff in ranking. And I figured out what Google wanted from it. What that did was it made sure I never suffered from penalties, and I never really changed my tactics. Today, I'm learning how to network all of this for machine learning purposes. It's still basic. Yeah, it really is. Like, you cover the basics now and just do it properly. And it just seems to perform so much better in local search. So Anyway, I love that. I love discussing this stuff, guys, because to me, I really like the direction in which SEO is going, because I didn't like doing a lot of the spammy shit that we did as SEOs for so many years, but we did it. We did it because it worked. And I did too. I mean, I was an unapologetic spammer as well, but I absolutely like the marketing side of things much better. Direct response marketing, been studying that for years now. And so that's really what we're doing, is we're really taking a direct response marketing approach and a PR, a public relations approach. So we should be marketing and promoting our clients' companies instead of just building links and spamming content onto the web. We should be actually doing real marketing and real promotional activities. And that to me is so much more exciting and more fun than doing all that spammy shit that we did in SEO. That paid the bills for sure, but wasn't as nearly as enjoyable in my opinion. So study direct response marketing, guys, and learn how to apply that to your marketing campaigns for your clients. And right now, I've talked about this in the mastermind. I don't want to reveal too much about this right now, but authorship and associating content with a subject matter expert. So when subject matter expert does not mean that they have to be industry thought leaders or anything. It just means that they are verifiably an expert in whatever industry that they work in. So a local plumber who's a master plumber, in order to have a contracting license, he has to be a master plumber. So a local plumbing company, the owner of that company, provided he's, it's a normal contractor type business where it's the master plumber that owns it, right? And he's a working contractor. He's a subject matter expert. So assigning him as the author instead of your generic ass agency that or somebody, some fake profile or whatever, assigning whether your agency can be publishing the content, but it should be him assigned as the author. If you do that and you cite and you constantly are tying that content back to a subject matter expert, could be the owner. It's usually going to be in my industry with the tree service guys, it's going to always be or should always be the tree service contractor himself, the lead arborist, sometimes they're not even arborists, but the guy that owns the company, the founder, the owner. It's usually going to be them that we're going to tie it to, if that makes sense. But it could be a spokesperson, a brand ambassador, whatever you want to call it for the company, but tying that content to an actual verifiable real person that can be validated as being a subject matter, has the credentials, the qualifications, the history, all of that basically helps that content to bypass a lot of these filters that I think are being applied because of AI generated content. It doesn't matter whether it's AI generated or not. It's who is the content associated with. Does that make sense? Who's the author? Who's the owner, the originator of this content? It could be AI, but if the author's name is stamped on it, like takes ownership of that content, I don't have any definitive proof of this other than just testing. I think that is one of the ways that content can bypass kind of the AI filters right now that Google is suppressing content that it thinks is generic content, right? Or that isn't tied to, because it might be thoroughly optimized, might be factual, really good content, but if it's not tied to a specific author, it's being suppressed because AI makes it to where anybody can publish good content, right? And so that's, I think, one of the ways that we can bypass those filters. And so I also think it's critically important then to, as part of our agency services now, to make sure that we are developing the profile of somebody at the company, of any clients that we work with. We are building up a profile for somebody that can act as the brand ambassador or the spokesperson for that client, for that business. Because then all of the content and everything that we do will be channeled through that profile so that it helps that business to perform significantly better because of the authenticity of having a real, genuine human attached and claiming ownership of the content that is being produced, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's kind of another inside tip. All right, guys, let's get into the few questions that we have, and then we're going to wrap up. We should be done early today, actually. And I hope you guys found that to be somewhat valuable. I'm quite excited about the direction things are going in, and so hopefully that create some enthusiasm on your end too. All right. So we got one from Mick. He says, have you a visual example of the new way of building local service area pages e.g. just one service page linking to area pages, and what the content. Sorry, I heard something knocking at my. Can you guys stand by? I apologize, guys, but I think somebody's at my door. So give me 1 second. If I can figure out. All right, forgive me, guys. I don't know what that was. I must be hearing shit. No, there was nothing there, but I definitely heard something. Okay, so just one service page linking to area pages and what the content these area pages would be filled with, and if they need to rank for their search terms. It's the location page that you want to rank for local search terms. It's not the service page. Okay. The service pages, you should have one service page for each service on that the company provides. All right. So let's just use a plumber as an example, or you know what, I'm gonna stick to tree services because I know tree services. So for a tree service site, it's a singular Google business category, a singular service category type of a business, right? It's tree service. There's another arborist service category that is very closely related. Arborists have certain credentials that allow them to do certain things that a regular tree service contractor that is not a certified arborist can't do. But they're very, very similar. There's a lot of overlap. So when I say tree service is a singular category, service category business, it's because those are both very, very closely related. And so what I mean by that is for tree service, that's the category, but the services are tree removal, tree trimming, stump grinding, tree care, arborist consulting, land clearing, deep root fertilization, which is a subservice of tree care, right? There's all these different types of services, and there's kind of a hierarchy. There's because like I said, tree care has a number of services tree health assessments. A lot of those are carried out by arborists. But again, what I'm saying is I would have one service page for each service. The home page optimized for the service category, tree service. You understand? Then the individual service pages are going to be one for tree removal, one for tree trimming, one for stump grinding, one for land clearing, if land clearing is a primary service of that particular company. Again, arborist consulting or tree care would be a separate page, which could include the arborist services as part of tree care. Okay. So what I'm saying is you'd have one page for every service on the site. Okay. Then that page about tree removal, right, is going to be thoroughly optimized with content that's your content heavy page, your service page, right? That answers the questions on the, the way that I see, the way that we all used to optimize, me too, okay, would be that we would load that page full of just all kinds of just stupid shit about facts about tree removal and all that kind of stuff. And we did that because that's how we would get results. But now I think the content should be fully focused on serving the consumer that is inquiring about the service, right? In other words, the content shouldn't be this wall of stupid facts and statistics that nobody gives a damn about, except for Google's algorithm, which used to, and I don't even think it cares about that anymore either, to be honest with you. Instead, we should have the content specifically addressing how is this service delivered? When is it needed? What does it cost? How long does it take to be, for it to be completed? What is the process for requesting an estimate? All of that. In other words, helpful content that wasn't unintentional, guys. Helpful content that satisfies the consumer's any kind of question that the consumer could have about that particular service. So that is typically going to be a content heavy page, but not full of bloated, stupid statistics that mean nothing to the consumer. You think a consumer gives a damn about any of that? No. All they care about is this the right service that I need? How much does it cost? What can I expect? And how do I contact them? That's all they care about. So the service page should be thoroughly optimized to convert the visitor or to thoroughly answer any questions the visitor may have about that service. And then somewhere in the content body of that page is an internal link element that's introduced by an H2 statement that says, these are the areas in which we provide tree removal for that page, right? In tree trimming, it would say, these are the areas or service locations that we provide tree trimming or stump grinding or tree care or whatever it is. So there would be an H2 that reinforces the overall service of that page that then introduces an internal link element that are H3 anchor text links that list and link to each of the individual location pages. Here's the thing though. So like, let's say I'm in Pikeville, Kentucky. So if I had multiple, location pages around here, then Pikeville would be one of the pages in there. And so if somebody is searching for tree removal Pikeville, it's not the tree removal page that should be ranking. It's the Pikeville page, the location page should be ranking for that. Do you understand? So the service page is not the page that we're attempting to rank. The service page is there to create the thorough description of the service for the consumer's benefit, but then also as an SEO benefit, it creates, and that becomes the authority page for that service. And there should only be one page on the site for that service. There it is. Okay. Then it creates the association from that service to each of the locations that service is available to via that internal link element. Guys, the semantic web is about how entities relate to each other or associate with each other. Our goal as SEOs, our jobs, our role should be to force the algorithms and the models to recognize associations the way that we want them to. Do you understand? That's what we should be doing. That's going back to what I was talking about earlier with AI SEO. It's about building brand authority, getting published mentions on various places of the company. It's more likely to be surfaced in AI search. What is that, guys? That's creating associations, right? You're associating the brand with the products or services that it provides and or the locations in which it provides them. That's why I talk about using semantic triples in the SEO titles, right? An entity association statement. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is where we do it, right? Those are associating brand, product, service, location. Get it? And so what I'm saying is the location page is what you want to rank. So if somebody is in this example, Pikeville, and they search for tree removal service, because tree removal can be an informational query. Tree removal service, that has local intent. So they search for tree removal service, no location modifier. What page should rank? Should it be the tree removal service page on the site, or should it be the Pikeville location page? It should be the Pikeville location page. Right? Okay, we just talked about tree removal and how we associate that with the location page. Same thing with the tree trimming, stump grinding, tree care or arborist consulting, whatever you want to call that other page, land clearing. Any one of those, the same thing. Thoroughly optimized about that one service, then the internal link element that just the H2 that introduces it, that restates that primary service and then says is available in the following locations, right? And then that's where it creates that internal association between that service in each of those locations. Then on the location page, what should that be? That should be lean, in my opinion. The location pages should be about converting the visitor. When somebody searches in Pikeville, right? They search for tree removal service, tree removal near me, tree trimming Pikeville. Do you understand? It's the location page optimized for tree service Pikeville that should rank, because all of those individual services fall under the tree service category. So you want to optimize the location page for the service category so that page is now relevant to all of the services that fall into that service category or fall under that category. Is that, you understand? So you don't need a separate page for tree trimming or tree removal Pikeville, tree trimming Pikeville, stump grinding Pikeville, which is what I still see all the time in SEO from doing white label services, guys. I do competitive analysis reports all the time and, full SEO audits. And all the time I get clients that send a campaign in and they say, we're just really having the hardest time getting this campaign to perform and blah, blah, blah. And then I use Website Auditor to go crawl the site as the Google bot and I export the pages file. And I get rid of a lot of the other data to where all we look at is the URL, the SEO title, the H1 heading, the number of H1s, and the number of H2s through H6s. And I extract it down. I narrow it down to just those like 5 columns in the spreadsheet that it exports. And from that data, I can very quickly determine if there's over optimization, redundancy, duplication, technical SEO errors, etc., from just looking at that pages file. And most of the time, what I'm still seeing, and people are saying, well, we don't understand. We're having the hardest time getting results for this client. And then I go look at their site and they've got this enormous amount of bloat because they have a tree trimming, pike fill, tree removal, pike fill, stump grinding, pipe fill, etc. pages. And I'm saying, do you understand? If you have a service page on the site that talks about tree removal and another service page that talks about tree trimming, it's been said already. It doesn't need to be said again. It has been said one time on one page that's thoroughly optimized for that. That's it. You associate that page with each of the locations that it's available to through internal linking. That's how you optimize for the semantic web. Associations, guys. Force the association, right? Try to get the models to recognize the association. That's what we're doing. And we're doing it in an efficient manner. Site efficiency, number 2 most important thing, right? So location pages, what should you have on them? They should be conversion focused. It should be, this is who we are at the top. Right? When they land on the page, because a local search query should return a location page in the results, not a service page. So when they land on the location page, it should clearly state, this is who we are. This is how to contact us or request contact from us, right? So whatever contact mechanism, form, click to call button, whatever it is. And then these are the services available in this area or at this location, right? And then just basically a menu with internal links that list and link to each of the service pages. There is no need to then have a separate paragraph of text and a separate H2 for each one of those services where you're repeating the same thing over and over and over again. It should just be an internal navigational element that states these are the tree services available in Pikeville in this example. And then it's going to have an H3 anchor text link to tree removal, tree trimming, stump grinding, land clearing, tree care, etc. Do you see what I'm saying? That creates an association now between that specific location, which is what that page is optimized for, and each of those individual services. So if you understand what we just talked about, the service page should be thoroughly optimized. That's the content heavy page. Okay. And the internal associations are created through that internal link element, or the associations are created through the internal link element that on the service pages list and link to the location pages. The location pages should be lean, no repetition, no duplication, no redundancy. Where can you add content to those pages? Because I know SEOs just feel like they can't rank a page unless they throw words onto it. I understand that SEO's answer to everything is let's just throw more words at the page. That'll fix it. Okay, fine. If you must have more content on the page because you don't think that that's going to perform, put FAQs. Right? Now you can localize FAQs onto the specific location page, which will also help to increase the chances of getting into AI search. So now you can add content to a page that is relevant without it being redundant, because you can answer questions on various location pages, all related to questions that a consumer typically asks of a tree service contractor or company in this case, right? Hopefully that makes sense, because I know a lot of SEOs that just refuse to accept the fact that you can rank a location page with little to no content other than headings and internal links. But you can. I've done a lot of testing. So if you must have additional content, fine, put FAQs there, but then also make sure you're marking them up properly, right? And then putting FAQ schema on the page too, or inserting an FAQ element into the schema of that page. And that'll increase the likelihood of that getting into AI search. So I hope that kind of explains that, guys. It's a very, very powerful strategy that creates that site efficiency that I've been talking about forever. What keeps the site lean. Internal linking is such that when you build a link to any service page, what happens? It flows down through the content body of that page to the internal link element, and then to each and every one of the location pages that service is relevant to. And what happens when you build a link to a location page? It flows down through the content body of that page to the H2 section that then introduces the internal link element to all the services that are relevant to that location. So you're creating internal link wheels within the site. So anytime you build a link to a location page, it's going to power up every other or every service that is relevant to that location. Every time you build a link to a service page, it's going to power up every location that service is relevant to. So it actually increases the, you get more mileage out of your link building budget. Does that make sense? It's because you get more effect, that it produces a better effect. Remember, if you have a separate page like tree removal, pike fill, tree trimming, pike fill, stump grinding, pike fill, and then the next city over, tree removal, tree trimming, stump grinding, and then the next city over. Now you've got all these internal pages so that you're diluting link equity. The more pages you're diluting internal link equity across, the less effective it is. So narrow the focus of the site. I talked about that already today. The more narrow you focus the site on its topics, which could be product or services as it relates to local. So product or service categories, right? I mainly deal with service-based businesses. So the more narrow you can focus the site on the service categories and the geography in which they're targeting, the better it will perform, provided you have a lean site structure the way that I'm describing now, and the proper internal linking. And you're optimizing for entities, not for keywords. Okay. If you do that right, guys, I'm telling you, that's how you'll perform better. And it's a much easier way to manage the site because you got less pages, there's less content. You're not rewriting the same shit 18,000 times because that's what used to work. I understand why we all did it. But, guys, we have language models that run everything around us, right? And so hammering away at the same old school tactics is just, in my opinion, it's a fool's errand. It's ridiculous. And I see it all the time in the SEO industry. And, I just wish more people would actually keep up with what's working, right? Do some more testing. You'll see. And it's an easier way to run the business, in my opinion. Manage campaigns, okay? All right, guys, we got a couple more questions. This is a video question. These are always difficult to answer, so I'll try. If I can't, we'll move on. The real reason Google sites are powerful for local map rankings, great content to use WordPress or static HTML sites for your money site that you build. I prefer to use HTML sites when possible. I hate WordPress, but there is kind of a benefit of having WordPress in some cases. Like, for example, if you're going to have if I'm going to build a site on an HTML, like an HTML site, instead of a content management system, then it does make sense to put a blog, a WordPress site, a WordPress blog, on a subdomain so that you can publish content. I don't recommend blogging from the main domain, the main website. I think local business sites should be focused on transactional terms, bottom of funnel search queries, period. Service-based keywords, period. I don't think there should be any informational kind of content on local business type websites. I don't. Do that externally. A branded blog. That would be an example of that, right? Putting WordPress on a branded a blog subdomain or whatever subdomain you want to call it, but on a subdomain of the site, because then any blogging that is done for informational queries, right? Top of funnel or middle funnel type queries that the company wants to target can still create that association with the brand that I've been talking about, but it's not done on the domain where the transactions, the conversions occur. Because that can be competing pages, right? That's what it's redundant content. But when it's on a subdomain, it's a different web asset. Google treats a subdomain as a separate asset, just like it could be done on external branded domains or brand extensions like the Google site, Blogger, Tumblr, Weebly, all of those, right? It could go on those. But I think there is some benefit now specifically for having blog content on a subdomain blog of the primary local business site because it creates a stronger association without competing with the content on the root domain. Do you see what I'm saying? So WordPress, in my opinion, is still good for that. I hate WordPress, though, just to be clear. I absolutely hate WordPress. So I prefer to use other types of blogs, like I said, branded Web 2s, things like that when possible. But we are doing a little bit more experimenting with adding blogs to tree service contractor sites where we have had static sites for the last several years, specifically for the reason I just mentioned. Okay. So more on that later, but I do prefer, I recently took one of my tree service contractor clients and built their entire site in bolt.new, the new one, bolt.2.0 or whatever. And, it was good to a point, but then the fine tuning of the site, that gets to be very tedious when you're doing it via chat instead of like just getting in and modifying the code and all that. That gets to be the fine tuning of the site sucks. The initial build was great, fast, all of that, but the fine tuning of the site, that's not fun doing it through a chat mode. And then also it's interesting, but if you look at the site, the way that, like, if you look at the view source code on the site that I just deployed it from he agreed we were going to test with it. And so it was cool. I got his permission to do some testing with his website, and we built a new site on bolt.new. If you look at the page source, though, the page is like, there's no content. Like, it's just like, and I'm not a coder. I know it has something to do with React or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, point that I'm trying to say is it looks like there's no content. Now, Google still reads it. I know because I submitted to Search Console when we launched the new site. We go inspect URL, test live URL, whatever, and then view, view source or view page or whatever. You can go look at how Google rendered the page, and it's fully rendered. But apparently the language models can't crawl that. Google can, but the language models can't. So that's why I think it's important for, especially if using the new site builders that, create this type of site where the language models are unable to crawl them, at least now. Google seems to be able to. Again, Search Console confirmed that to me, but apparently the language models cannot. So what do we do? Well, like I said, as far as getting referenced in AI search, it's not really about the site itself. It's about getting brand references. So that's not so much of an issue, but I also want the language models to crawl the domain, even if it's a subdomain. So there's where it makes sense to put a WordPress blog on a subdomain of the branded domain, so that if the branded domain is unable to be accessed by language models because of the type of site that it was built on, the platform it was built on, then there's the subdomain that can still get the domain crawled by language models with informational type content that is likely going to be surfaced in AI search anyways, if that's clear. So I recommend static sites when possible for the money site, because again, focus on bottom of funnel type keywords. That's what I think local business websites should be optimized for, not informational queries. You shouldn't be blogging on the main site for top of funnel type stuff. I think that should be done via social media, external branded blogs, press releases, etc. And if you must have a blog, put it on a subdomain so that it's not competing with the top level site, if that's clear. All right. Can I share an example of a G site? Not at the moment, because we've only got a few minutes left. Perhaps next week I can show you an example. Eric posted a support related question as a Hump Day Hangout question, and he also posted it in as a private message in the Circle community, which I answered in the private message in the Circle community. And also I recommended that you use our support when you have support related queries, because you'll get a faster response. But in any case, I already answered that and I updated it, and I appreciate you pointing that out. So that's been resolved. Last question is, hey, Bradley, what's the best heading and subheadings for a paving company? The GMB category is paving contractor, but Wikipedia is paver flooring. That is correct. I've done research in that industry for white label clients. Asphalt paving is also its own Wikipedia entity. Yes. So you would go with asphalt paving, and there's also, from what I understand, concrete and concrete paving. Concrete can be used for paving also. So I would be working in asphalt paving, general contractor, and concrete, right? Those are three entities right there, right? Asphalt paving, general contractor, and concrete. Those three entities, and they're closely related. You can combine those entities on one page. Like, in other words, you can reference asphalt paving contractor, concrete paving contractor, and a contractor is a general contractor. Do you understand? Here, let me just demonstrate that. We're going to go look at this. And by the way, Grokpedia is awesome if you guys haven't started messing with it, but it's not embeddable. I know, because I've wanted to use that instead of Wikipedia. I'd much rather use Grokpedia than Wikipedia, honestly. But anyways, let's go look at contractor, Wikipedia. And you'll see contractor has multiple meanings depending on which context it is used. The context in which we would be talking about a paving contractor would be general contractor. Okay, so that's why, and you see right here, excuse me, on the page, excuse me, guys, I got a tickle in my throat. On the page, it says a contractor, North American English, or builder, British English. Excuse me, guys. What this is showing is any bolded text in a Wikipedia page, not a heading or subheading, but bolded paragraph text means that's an entity variant for the primary entity term, right? It's a synonym. Sorry, guys. I need a drink and I don't have one. Anyway, so those are entity variants. Contractor is general contractor. You get that? So then also, if you click on tools, what links here, and then hide transclusions and hide links, thanks to one of my mastermind members named Nolan, those are also entity variants. So they all mean the same thing. You can use them interchangeably. So in your question, you asked, what should I use? You can use asphalt, paving, general contractor, and concrete. if that's relevant to your client's business. And then mix those in, all of that into one. Like, in other words, the SEO title, I would have, paving contractor, because if they do both asphalt and concrete, I would probably leave that out of the SEO title and just put paving contractor, right? Or if it's it depends. If that's a location page, I would use paving contractor. So brand, paving contractor, location, entity association statement, right? That's a semantic triple. Okay. If it's a service page and it's a service area business, which a paving contractor will be, then I would omit any location modifier in the SEO title. And I would have paving services or paving, just paving, and then brand name. And then in the SEO or the headings of the service page, I would work in asphalt paving, concrete paving. I would reference contractor, et cetera. Then on the location pages is where I would optimize for brand first, then paving contractor, which then in the H1 or H2s, I would have it referenced on the page that they do both asphalt paving, concrete paving, et cetera. Do you understand? That's how I would do it. And that way you're targeting the appropriate related entities within the pages in the proper format. It will perform much better that way. And I know what you mean about Wikipedia. Sometimes the entities don't line up properly, and that's okay. You remember, guys, when I first started kind of testing with this method and everything was 3 or 4 years ago, before language models had evolved to where they are now and fully integrated in everything around us. So the rules for how we would associate entities were a lot stricter 3 years ago. Now it's a lot looser because the language models understand now. They have a much greater comprehension of the relationships or associations between entities. So we can be a lot looser with them and combine more entities on the page when they are related and relevant. Whereas before I would have said, you want to keep it very strict, only referencing the particular entities. Now we can bring in what's called tangent, closely adjacent entities, right? Distance graph, all of that. So immediately adjacent entities and even secondary entities, right? That are 2 hops away from the initial seed entities, we can actually reference in the page. Those are all algorithm trigger words, right? Those are precisely what we should be targeting. It's a lot looser now than it was a few years ago because the models have evolved, if that's clear. And the models are more fully integrated in everything. So, okay, guys, I think we're about done. Got a couple of comments here. I'll only drop the screen share for a minute and then we'll wrap up. I think that's screen share. Yeah.
Yep.
So, okay. Back to David. Yes, you were talking about bloated content as a no-no. I agree. Pro tip, Wikipedia got right first. What did they excel at? Referencing. Yeah, and internal linking. That's 100% true. That's what I've been talking about that for years, modeling how Wikipedia does their internal. And that's what we're doing with the sites the way that I just suggested, guys. Service pages, location pages, and internal linking. Associations, references. It's 100% right, David. Narrow equals hyperfocus. How I got this in my feed at 3 a.m. I don't know, dude. Don't know.
Welcome to the show.
Well, welcome. Yeah, you're welcome. Last one from David says, Bradley, if you need help with vibe coding, let me know. It's what I've been leaning towards lately. Reach out, as I know it can be tedious. Yeah, I'd be happy to. As a matter of fact, I think you messaged me on Facebook. Sorry, David. I try to stay off Facebook. Like, I avoid it like the plague. I really do. So I really try not to get on Facebook at all anymore. So I wasn't trying to ignore you. Shoot me an email, dude. Let's jump on another call. I've said that to you a lot and you haven't taken me up on it. Shoot me an email. You should have my email address and I'll shoot you my calendar link and we can jump on a call. I'd love to chat with you. Okay. Any news on Web2s? What's the news, Costco? Well, I mean, what are you asking about? If you want to provide me a little bit more detail, I'll try to answer it. And Adam, if you got to go, you can go, dude. I'm going to jump in just a second anyway.
All right. It is date night, so I'm out of here.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
The subdomains on WordPress. That's a good question. I still hadn't heard anything about that. We have recently started using another vendor, though, for Web2s, and I have not gone in to see what the platforms are that they're using. I still hadn't heard about that, but I mean, I believe you. It hadn't been brought to my attention other than you had asked about it. So I don't have any answer for you yet. It's interesting though, because all the Web2 networks that I've built or my team has built for various clients that had all those .blog domains, finance, tech, home, all that stuff, they're all still live. They weren't taken down. So it's odd that you can't create those now. Again, I don't create the Web 2s ever. I haven't in years. So I'm not in there. I don't know other than just the deliverables from my vendors, because we don't do those in-house. We use vendors for those. And I haven't looked into that just because, sorry, it slipped my mind, to be honest with you. So if I could think about it over the next day or two, I'll ask my team about it and perhaps just ask the vendor directly, and I might have an answer for you next week. Okay. Okay, guys. I think that's right. Lovable has a new LLM model built in. You know what's interesting, guys? I saw yesterday, by the way, you guys should all go subscribe to Horizon AI. It's a newsletter. I think you can just Google it. Horizon AI newsletter. It's fantastic. It's really good. It's really good. It's a daily newsletter. I really enjoy getting that email every day. And they have this little section at the bottom it's a Beehive newsletter. So at the bottom, there's always a, new AI apps to check out or something like, and it's always 5 apps that they have in there. And I just saw yesterday, it might have even been today. Well, you know what? I might even still have it open. No, apparently I don't. Anyways, there was a new lead finder, a new lead scraper. It was an AI lead scraper. It's called Find My Influencer. I think it was called Find My Influencer. Matter of fact, we could even just for shits and giggles do this very quickly. But it was on Lovable. It was on the Lovable subdomain. This is an app now that they're actually promoting out there that it's still on the Lovable subdomain, and it even has the little Lovable floating badge in the bottom right corner. And I was just like, damn, people are launching apps now and like taking payments, and they don't even put it on their own domain. That's fucking crazy to me. So anyways, I think it was called findmyinfluencer.lovable.com or whatever their Lovable URL is. You might even be able to go look at it, but it was in Horizon. Go check out the Horizon newsletter. It's really good. I would encourage you to subscribe to it. If you like keeping up with all the AI stuff, it's a great way because you get it in your inbox every day. Short reads, but it keeps you kind of abreast of what's happening. So go check it out. All right, guys. See everybody next week. Thanks, everybody. Have a happy Thanksgiving.